This is the Black TV Show podcast hosted by Miriam Temeskin. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 70, The Cosby Show Season 3, episode 22, Andalusian Flu. And I think I've said it right. Not sure if you can correct me if I said it wrong. The episode aired April 2nd, 1987. The synopsis of this episode is Theo offers to run the house when Cliff and Clair have the flu. So we start off with Cliff just walking in. I don't know if he came from work. I just assume so, but he's carrying some clothes in his hand, so it looks like he went to the dry cleaners. But you could tell he's really sick, and so he goes from the living room to the bedroom, and Claire is like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "I think I am sick." And she's like, "Oh no, you got the Andalusian flu." And Claire tells him, you can't be sick right now. We can't be both sick. I just need a half a day to get better, and then you can be sick all you want. And he's like, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm too sick. The way she talks is as if he can control his infection and his, illness that he's dealing with, or in terms of this flu. And he can't control it. So how you can't just tell someone to not be sick. And he was like, I can't, my teeth hurt, he's hot, he's cold, it's just everything basically. And Claire was like, well, it's gonna get worse. Cliff blames Claire for giving the flu. She says that she didn't mean to, and that is true. She didn't mean to, unless she purposely coughed on him, which I don't think that was the case. But the problem is that they sleep in the same bed. If he didn't want to get sick, he should have slept somewhere else for a couple days while she got better, because the bacteria, the germs are just going to go from one person to another. Crazy how this episode is so relevant to what has happened in the last year and a half in terms of this pandemic with the COVID. I will explain why they call this episode Andalusian Flu at the end of the episode, and you'll understand the connection to what we have been dealing for a year and a half with COVID. And so Claire says that she didn't mean to give it to him. She caught it from one of the children that caught it from one of the kids at school. And Claire says that, we need to track that kid and pass the flu to we need to track the kid that passed the flu and shake them and sneeze on their parents. It's so rude, so mean. If people did that during the COVID pandemic, you probably would have gone to jail. Because that's against the health. I don't know the word. I don't know. During this pandemic, that just seems like a crime, anyways. So, even if when you don't have a mask on, it's during the times that they said you have to have a mask on at all times, if you don't even have a mask on, you can get fined. So for you to cough on someone can cause you jail sentence, basically. And so Theo comes in and also notices that it's Cliff. There's something wrong with Cliff, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And Claire says he got the flu, and Theo says, "Oh, whoa, Cliff, you're gonna have to say goodbye to the next 36 hours." Clearly he knows it well, because probably he got sick, right? And we do find out that all the kids got sick last week, and they're all better now. And Theo says that he can take care of both of them because they took care of him. It's just him returning the favor. And so Claire was hesitant. She was like, I don't know. I don't know if you can handle what we do and all. He's like, just trust me. And so she was like, okay, Theo's in charge. And we find out he has to cancel his movie date with Lana Herman, which is the most beautiful girl at school, apparently, according to Theo. Claire says the positive side of them being in bed together is that they get to stay together in bed all day. In her mind is all cuddled up and all this stuff. And Cliff sneezes, and she's like, okay, no, I'm good. And she goes to her corner. So it ain't that fun of a day. By the way, this is either Saturday, Sunday, because clearly they all don't have school today. And so we go into the kitchen, and Theo tells Vanessa she can't go to get Janet's house because she was already on her way to go to Janet's house. She was just about to leave the house, but Theo stopped her. And because the reason that she can't go is because the parents are sick. And Rudy points out that we've never had the parents sick at the same time. Like, it's usually one parent or the other. And so Theo says, well, we'll run the house for the next couple of days. And Vanessa said, yay, pizza every day. Theo was like, no, we have to be more responsible than that. We got to eat vegetables and other foods that they don't like. How's that responsible? Don't eat foods that you don't like. I wouldn't want to do that. That's not responsible. It's like responsibility. I want to eat what food that I want. Yeah, I agree. Pizza every day isn't probably the great strategy right there. But, you know, I want to actually eat something that has, like, flavor and zest on it. But I guess they got to be more responsible than that. So they're going to start off with making lunch. Or it's more of the girls starting off with making lunch. Rudy's going to empty the dishwasher. Vanessa's going to finish cleaning the kitchen. And Theo is going to put the work schedule together. And, like, Vanessa stops him and be like, what else are you going to do besides putting the work schedule? And he just, like, gives a bunch of things that I just don't understand. He says, like, he has to plan the meals, decide what time to eat, which chores need to be done. Like, I think that will take less than 15 minutes to do. I think to plan the meals, like, what kind of meals do you need to plan? You could do, like, spaghetti for this meal. You know, this, like, you can make simple stuff. So why does it take all day to do that? And you're making your sisters do all the heavy lifting, basically. And so he leaves, and we go back to the bedroom, and the parents are thirsty. They want water, but they both are too weak to get out of bed. So what are we going to do? So they try to call for Theo, but they're too weak. They're like, Theo. You know, it's they're too weak. The flu is too strong on them, and so they were like, "What are we gonna do? Like, we can't just die of thirst here." Like, Claire was like, "I don't think they're gonna come. They're never gonna come and check on us." Basically, so Claire tells Cliff to go try to get the water for them. So he, like, tries to get out of bed. He's just so weak. He gets out of bed, but then he falls to the ground. He's that weak. Like, he can't walk. And then he's just on the ground. He's like, I'm just going to take a little nap here. We cut to Vanessa cleaning the table in the living room, but not taking the magazines off. She's just cleaning around them. I wouldn't do that. I think I would be the type of person to, like, take all the magazines off the table, put it on the ground, and then wipe it, because I think it seems just a bit harder to clean around the magazines just in general. I think it's just easier to take the magazines down, but in her case, not. And so Theo sees what she's doing and points out, like, you can't do that, because what if someone lifts a magazine, then it's going to be dirty underneath. And Vanessa says, no one's going to see that part of the table. But finally, he got her into cleaning the whole table. And so once she's done with that, Theo says that she can start with laundry. And Vanessa says that she told Janet she was going to be at her house. And Theo says, you thought. This is, you know, teamwork, sacrifice. Theo says, a chain is only its weakest link. Don't be that weak link. Sorry, I for some reason can't get that right, but that's basically what he says. That's like some stupid quote that you just, like, try to get people to do things. And so Vanessa says, okay, I'll do laundry. And then Theo gives her a grocery list. And, like, Vanessa says, what are you going to do? And Theo says, I'll finish your dusting and then finish organizing the house. How long does it take to organize the house? Like, really? And just want to let you know, so Vanessa is, like, not even, like, 14. She's 13, 14, we don't know. But she can't drive. She does not have a driver's license, but yet she is going to the grocery store. Is the grocery store in the corner of the street or something? Because when we see her come back, she's going to have a few bags of groceries. So it's weird what the writers did with this. It should have been just Theo's job to do it, because we don't know if he has a license, but he's older, he's a man and all that stuff. So it's just, I don't know why he put that responsibility on her. And so Vanessa goes to the kitchen, and Rudy's cleaning the floors, and Vanessa gives Rudy the laundry to her, and Rudy's like, I'm not allowed to do the laundry because of the washing machine. And Vanessa says, okay, well, at least separate the whites and then put them in the machine, and that's it. And basically she will start the machine. And then she also mentions that to also clean the floors in the living room. And Rudy was like, that's your job. And Vanessa gives the same speech that Theo gives to Rudy about the chain is only its why am I saying that wrong? Week's length. And so she was like, fine, I'll do it. And so we're back to the living room, and Theo's finishing dusting the table, and the doorbell rings, and it's Mr. Lucas and Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis was in the episode, he was in the episode You Only Hurt the One You Love. You remember when Cliff was at the hospital dealing with one of the cleaning ladies being laid off? Well, Mr. Davis was also laid off, and Cliff suggested Mr. Lucas to hire Mr. Davis, and so that's why now he works as Mr. Lucas' assistant. And Mr. Davis does point out multiple times in this episode that he was laid off. He worked 20 years at the hospital, and they laid him off. We hear it multiple times, so we get the story here. And they came over to fix the banister. Apparently it's a bit loose, and so Theo says, okay, I'm gonna go tell Claire. And so Theo goes into their bedroom, and he's about to ask Claire about the banister, and Cliff is on the floor, and he's like, what happened? And Claire explains, he tried to go get some water, but he was too weak, basically. And Theo was like, oh, you could have just asked me to get some water. And so he gets Cliff, and Cliff doesn't know Theo anymore, and Claire, his flu has really... I didn't know that, like, the fever can really impair your memory. I didn't know that's the case. I don't know when the last time I had a fever, probably when I was, like, a little kid. So I don't know how it feels, which I don't want to go through that. Straight up say that. I do not want to go through having fever because it's the worst. But it impaired his memory, I guess. Theo gets the water from the bathroom, which is weird, unless there's some kind of water thing in there, a water machine. Because I don't usually take water from the sink of the bathroom. I usually take it from the sink of the kitchen. I don't know what difference it makes, but it's just, to me, makes me feel more comfortable. But Theo gets it from in their bathroom, and he has to help Cliff drink the water because he's just too weak to drink that water. He has to lift his head up. And so Theo tells Cliff not to get out of bed. He has to stay under the covers. He'll bring a whistle so that they can use it, so they can call for Theo. So it's a bit easier than just calling, like, Theo, And so we end Act 1 and we go into Act 2. And Mr. Davis is working on the banister, making a lot of noise. Oh, I didn't mention, Theo did tell Claire about Mr. Lucas. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. They can work on it. And so Cliff wants the noise to stop, and Claire says she does too, but, they're working on the banister. And he's like, I just want it to stop. And so she blows on the whistle, but he can't hear her. Theo can't hear her because of the banister making more noise than, it's hard to go over, but based on that noise, it's very hard. So Claire tells Cliff to tell the man to stop. And she doesn't want to go because of how she looks. She doesn't look decent. And so Cliff decides to get up and tries to have the energy to tell the man to stop hitting the hammer, basically. And he goes down before he goes down the stairs, like, when he tries to go through the hallway, he keeps hitting the side of the wall. Like, he just doesn't have the balance. Clearly, it's really affecting his balance. And so Cliff goes down the stairs, and he notices that there's a whole missing banister. And Cliff tells Mr. Davis, says, like, we are really sick. And he tells him that we have the flu, and you hammering is making us worse. We want silence, basically. And Mr. Davis says, ooh, you really got bad. It feels like you have feels that your head was smashed by 2 trucks, shooting pain at your eyes. But he never experienced this. Like, the way he explains it, seems like he has experienced this, but he says he's never experienced because he drinks something every day that helps with it. I can't remember what it was. But Mr. Davis tells Cliff that he should go back to bed. And so Cliff tries to get up, but he almost like falls off the stairs because there's no banister there. And so Mr. Davis has to help him up all the way to the upstairs, because he just would have fell on the ground and it would have been a bad accident. And so later, Rudy is cleaning the floor, and Mr. Davis tells Rudy that onions are good to eat every day. I eat onions in a lot of my meals, but not like a full onion slice. Like, it usually is mixed in my food. I can't deal with just like a slice. That seems hard. And Mr. Davis tells Rudy that he was laid off, the whole speech, and the doorbell rings in. It's Lana, and she came over to see Theo. And Rudy asks Lana, like, do you want to help with the cleaning? And she's like, yeah, I can help. And so she's helping cleaning the floors, and Theo comes down and like runs. He's like, Rudy, what are you doing? Like, you're not supposed to ask guests for help or to clean, basically. And, you know, basically she said she was fine with it. Like, she didn't say, like, I don't want to. So Rudy is in the right, I think, in this case. Would I make a guest clean? I feel like that's a little disrespectful. If they're, like, staying over, like, if they're sleeping over, maybe. But if they're just coming to visit, I don't think that's a good idea. And so Theo takes Rudy to go to the kitchen. And, like, even Theo was like, why are you doing the floors? And because Vanessa told her to do it. And so we go into the kitchen. Vanessa just came back from the grocery store, and Vanessa and Rudy are fighting. And Theo was like, stop, what happened to our big happy team? And Vanessa points out that like, they're doing all the work and Theo's just watching. And Theo sees so Theo's like, no, I'm doing a lot. I'm doing the job of both mom and dad. And so Theo sees the flowers and he's like super happy. He's like, and like Vanessa was like, because originally before she left, he said get 12 orchids. They look like roses to me, but and so 6 of them were for Claire and the other 6 is for Lana. And so Vanessa says, like, he tricked me from getting flowers for his girlfriend. Like, that's not fair. And Vanessa says, I'm tired of him bossing us around. Theo is a dictator. And you know what you do with a dictator? You overthrow them. And Rudy's like, yeah. So we're in the living room, and Lana loves her flowers. She's like, it's so beautiful. And Vanessa comes in and dumps laundry on Theo's head in front of Lana. And Vanessa says, they took their last order from him, and Vanessa's going to talk to the parents to tell what happened. And Theo was like, no, they're tired, they're sick, don't bother them. And they all go upstairs and start yelling at Claire and Cliff, like at each other, basically saying, like, this is not fair, Theo is a dictator. And Claire finally blows the whistle, says one at a time, and Rudy says Theo is a dictator, and he's like, no, I'm not. And Vanessa defends her, yes, you are. And Claire says, okay, at this moment in time, I declare myself well. And Cliff was like, how can you do that? And she's like, well, because I have to do it, or else they're going to tear this house apart. The life of being a mother. You know, a mother, they go through a lot. You know, as Claire has said in previous episode, in that, I think in Claire's sister, you know, you could have pneumonia, malaria, you know, colds, all this stuff, and you still be able to go to work. That's what mothers go through, you know. So she is a strong woman by far. And so they all leave, and Cliff tells Theo to stay because he wants to tell him a story. And Theo's like you're sick, like, I don't want to bother you. And so Cliff was like, no. And so he's like telling this story, but he's like having trouble. He like is in and out. He's like sleeping, talking. And you know, at one point Theo tries to trick him for getting Cliff to make Cliff write something to say that he actually said that Theo can have a sports car, because at this moment in time, clearly Cliff's brain is somewhere else because he's not fully functioned at this point. and so he tries to put it in writing, but then Cliff like catches Theo, says, "Oh no, I thought I had a son that tricked me." The way I'm explaining it is not great, so I apologize, because this is not really a storyline that I was really into. But we end off with this episode with Cliff going back to sleep. I guess getting better. That's what we're hoping for. Of course, in the next episode, he is totally better. But what's crazy is this whole episode is within a span of one day, and it seems like not even a span of like 3 hours. So it was very odd. But we end the episode right there. So we had a few guest stars, of all of them who are repeated guest stars. We had Lou Myers, who, as I said, we'll see him soon on A Different World. And then we have David Livingston. He has been in multiple episodes. I think this might be his last appearance, if I'm not correct, but I don't quote me on that yet again. And then Anna D. Zion as Lana Herman. And so those are the 3 guest stars that came back as returning. Fun fact that, as I said, Theo tells Vanessa to go to the grocery store. She's only 14 at the oldest and doesn't have a driver's license. So how is that even possible? This in a way is kind of like a continuity error. Not really, but it is, because it's like, in real life, she would not be the one getting groceries. Like, you don't just send a 14-year-old to the store. Like, it gives me the vibes of Home Alone with Kevin McAllister, where he went to go get groceries for himself and everyone was just judging him straight up. Although, when I was 14, or I guess in her case she's 13 because she's probably in grade 8, I did go to the store. I did go to restaurants alone around the neighborhood of the school. So, but like, I just didn't go to the grocery store to get a bunch of groceries. I probably went to the grocery store to get like ice cream or chips, like small little minor things that kids want. So it's weird that Vanessa went to do a full-on shopping. So, yeah. And Sabrina LaBeouf and Lisa Bonet both do not appear in this episode. And so Andalusian is an anonymous community of Andalusian is an anonymous community of Spain. Hence, the title is a joke referencing the Spanish flu. So I remember when we started the pandemic for COVID-19 in March of 2020. I remember looking this up because they said that this history has repeated itself, basically. So the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, the deadliest history, infected an estimated 500 million people worldwide and killed an estimated between 20 million to 50 million victims. Citizens were ordered to wear masks. School, theaters, business were shuttered, and bodies piled up in makeshift morgues before the virus ended its deadly global march. The Spanish flu is also known as the 1918 influenza pandemic, lasted from February 1918 to April 1920. So, this is life repeating itself. At the moment that you're hearing this episode, this was actually pre-recorded early spring, so I don't know what has happened at this moment in time in September. So I'm hoping at this moment in time that you're listening, the pandemic has cooled down a bit. We're just ending summer off. I hope you've had an amazing summer, but crazy that the one that they had in 1918 took 2 years. So we're not even 2 years yet or 2 years and 2 months, basically. So we're not even 2 years yet since the pandemic was declared. So yeah, some fun facts for you. And then the lesson for this episode is, when both parents are sick, do not leave your children in charge. Try to get another grown-up. They said that they were going to bring, Cliff was thinking of bringing his parents. Of course, in this case, Claire says no, because then we're going to make them sick. But then, you know what you could have done is, the kids could have just met the grandparents outside, and they would have stayed at the grandparents' house. So then that way they're not in connection with the parents. That's what they could have done, okay? And then the question I have for you guys is, have you had both your parents or guardian get sick at the same time? Were you left in charge? I want to hear from you. I've never really experienced that I have in my memory, so I can't really bring up moments in time, but I want to hear from you guys at Black TV Shows Pod at Instagram and Twitter using the hashtag Andalusian flu. And we haven't done this in a while, so it is Black Show of the Week. And so for this week, we're doing Moesha. Mo to the E to the. Mo to the E to the. Mo to the E to the. I'm not yet again. My singing is not good. Crazy that it has been maybe, I guess now it's 10 months since I discovered Moesha. Yeah, 10 months. I first watched it in November when it came onto Netflix. It was never, like, from what I remember, it was never on TV here in Canada, unless I just didn't have the channel for it, unless there was times where I didn't have BET, so maybe it was on BET in the times that I didn't have it. I don't know. But I would see clips on YouTube of little things, but I just never got to see the full series. And so I got to finally see it. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to get into it because it takes me a while to get into shows, but I loved it. By the time I got, I think I finished the whole series. There's six seasons. I finished the whole series, I think, in 3 weeks. So I was working, like I was working 12-hour days. Of course, because of my job, sometimes I was working nights, so the nights were kind of chill. So what I would do is just have it in the background while I'm working, you know? So I was able to see it. So it's a good show. I love Brandy. I was never into her music, but after watching Moesha, I actually downloaded a few of her songs, like I Want to Be Down. So this show aired between 1996 to 2001. There were 6 seasons. The stars of the show were Brandy, William Allen Young, Countess Yvonne, Marcus T. Polkale. I don't know how to say his last name. Lamont Bentley, Yvette Wilson, Cheryl Lee, Ralph Shar Jackson, Fredo Starr, and Ray J. So the story, basically the show is about the show focus on the life of the upper middle class black family through the eyes of the typical girl named Moesha. Her father Frank is a widower and a Saturn car salesman, and then later owner of his own dealership. Brother Sedan, he is married to Dee, the vice principal of Moesha's high school, much to Moesha's disapproval. The setting of the show includes Mitchell's household, the teen hangout place called The Den, and in some cases Crenshaw High School, the school attended by Moesha, Kim, Nisi, and Hakeem. The sitcom was set in Lamont Park, neighborhood of Los Angeles. Moesha is known for their special episodes, and if you guys don't know what a special episode is, I'm gonna read you out the term "very special episode." I don't think there's any show that uses this term anymore because we have broken the envelope, I feel like, in terms of what we can show on television. But and also because we have so much streaming. Now it's all streaming, basically. There's not much room for advertisements with a lot of the shows, so they don't really need to say very special episode. They just have to say the rating of the show. So very special episode is an advertising term originally used in American television promos to refer to an episode of a sitcom or a drama series which deals with a difficult social issue. The usage of the term peaked in the 1980s. So Moesha is the one that like really dealt with a lot of these episodes. I don't recall if they had like a memo at the beginning. I feel like there was one episode that they had a memo where the parents is like, this is an important episode and stuff like that. But with a lot of very special episodes, which has been brought up when we watch A Different World, I'll probably bring it up where they talk about this is a very special episode. Make sure you watch it with someone or something like that. But it's just a way of explaining that, you know, they're going to talk about a topic that is not really appropriate, I guess, for television. But it's a way to get viewers to learn, basically. So, with Moesha, the show dealt with the real social issues affecting teenagers, such as premarital sex, the death of a parent, teen pregnancy, drug use, race relations, sexuality, dementia, the day-to-day issues teenagers face at home and school, such as gender inequality. So there is a huge list of guest stars. Man, these black shows were just such... They have a lot of these shows from the 90s, they had too many guest stars. It was crazy. So the guest stars for Moesha was Bernie Mac, Merlin Santana, Melissa Joan Hart, Usher, Monique, Brandon Adams, Joe Marie Payton, Master P, Alexis Fields, Genuine, Kim Whitley, Little Kim, Octavia Spencer, Gabrielle Union, Jamie Foxx, the late greats Kobe Bryant, Mary J. Blige, Bow Wow, the late great Maya Angelou, A Tribe Called Quest, Tyrese, Boyz II Men, Shamar Moore, Lamont Tate, which is the brother of Lorenz Tate. I had to check that. Melinda Williams, Brian White, Orlando Brown, Kayla Pratt, Essence Atkins, Dorian Wilson, Nia Long, Sanaa Lathan, Russell Simmons, Lisa Leslie, Golden Brooks, Sinbad, Robin Givens, MC Light. Those are just some of them. There was too many for me to go through, but it's just so many great people, man. This is a go-to show to watch. And then I want to speak on the spin-offs from Moesha. So Countess, who plays... So Countess left the show in 1999 to have her own show. She will be now Kim Parker in the show called The Parkers. So she was friends with Moesha, and then this is after they graduated from high school. And several of the Moesha cast members made crossover appearance in The Parkers. I have yet to see The Parkers because... at the time that I'm recording, Netflix has not released it in Canada, which made me upset because I really wanted to watch The Parkers. I really wanted to watch Half and Half. So I'm hoping one day it will show up on Netflix. Yeah, and then maybe one day we could do The Parkers as one of our Black Show of the Week, because I have no idea what went on that show. Don't know. Have no clue. And I know it kind of went over... when Moesha ended, it still kept going. I think another season, if I believe. Don't quote me yet again. I don't know if that's true. But I really want to watch it, man. I really want to watch it. So then the next thing is, though not a direct spin-off of Moesha, the show Girlfriends, which we did a few... now it's like months ago. It was like half a year ago. The show Girlfriends... and the game were created by Moesha writer Mara Brock-Akil and exist in the same universe as Moesha. The character Maya Wilkes from Girlfriends lives in Lamert Park. And I think I said that wrong too. So as I said, I'm the person, when it comes to saying things, I'm the wrong person. So I apologize. And so it's in that park that the characters Moesha live. And it appeared in an episode of, and also Maya appeared in an episode of Moesha where it was the babysitting episode for her sister-in-law, Barbara Lee. And also Niecy later appeared in an episode of Girlfriends. So it's not a spin-off show from Moesha, but they are in the same universe, and they bump into each other, basically. That's what that sums up what they're talking about with Girlfriends in the game. Also on Moesha, Brandy plays herself as a celebrity on Moesha, and ironically, Brandy joins the cast of the game in the 5th season as Chardonnay Pitts. I think that's how you say her name. That's a very unique name, which means she married, what's his name? His last name is also Pitts. So she married one of the football players in the show. and then further complicated the notion of the show existing in the same universe. So those are the deals with the spin-off. So Moesha really started the catalyst of many other great Black TV shows, basically. Okay, and I think the game ended in like 2012, 2013, something like that. So, and Moesha ended in 2001. So the universe just kept going. So then cancellation. The series ended with an unsolved cliffhanger. Entertainment Weekly put out a rumor that certain plots would be resolved on the Parkers, but those plans never came through, and storylines were ultimate never resolved. I really wanted to say what the storylines were, but then that kind of like ruins the show, because I found out what the storylines were before watching the series, and I was just like, how did they get to that for the first season? So I'd rather not ruin it for you, because I really want you guys to watch Moesha. And then the lastly I want to say is Moesha had a curse, basically, they said. It's not true, but people think there's a Moesha curse, just like they say there's a Glee curse, because with Glee, I believe they've lost a few people from that cast. I've never seen Glee, but I've heard that there's a Glee curse. So they also said there was a Moesha curse, which is crazy, because I heard about the Moesha curse before even watching the show. And of course, the first person I noticed that would have been part of the curse was Merlin Santana, because I do know that he passed away in 2002, because he was also in one of my other favorite shows called The Steve Harvey Show, which one day, when I figure out if Americans can actually watch Steve Harvey, then we'll do that as a Black TV show of the week. But I remember that hearing that Merlin Santana got shot, so I knew that he passed away, but then I was just like, I don't know who else that they're talking about within this curse, so I had to like look this up, basically. So what I'm talking about in terms of this curse is, since Moesha went off the air, at least 4 major cast members have passed away prematurely. So as I said, Merlin Santana, who plays, I can't remember how they say his name, but it was a very unique name. He passed away in 2002 after getting shot 6 times while leaving a friend's house at the age of 26. I am 26 at this moment. Crazy to think about that. It's like, whoa. But Merlin like really lived life. I felt like he did a lot since he was on. And by the way, Merlin will be on the Cosby Show at the last season, though, so that's the sad part. We won't get to see him until the last season. But he's done so much television, and before he was the age of 26, he did a lot with his young life. And then Lamont Bentley, who we'll meet in the first episode. Also, I guess Merlin, I believe we do meet him in the first episode too, or the second, I can't remember. But Lamont Bentley is like a main cast, like we'll see him for all 6 seasons. He plays Hakeem Campbell. He died in a traffic accident in 2005 when he was only 31 years old. So, rest in peace to him. It's just sad. I haven't lost someone personally, but I've lost a family friend that died in a car accident, and it's like when it comes close to home, it's like, what? How is that even possible? So I know how his family would have felt back then. He was a parent for, I can't remember how many kids he had, but he was a father of a few kids. So it's sad. It's really sad. And then we had Bernie Mac, who came in as a guest star, played as Uncle Bernie, passed away in 2008 after suffering from years of health complications at the age of 50. And then we have Yvette Wilson, who played Endell Wilkins, who I believe was the main cast until season 5 and then guest starred in season 6. Died of cervical cancer 11 years after the show ended in 2012. Passed away at the age of 48. And I also found out she was in the movie Friday. I didn't know that. Crazy. Didn't know that she was in that movie. But yeah, she passed away at 48. Then, so those are the 4 that I mentioned. But then they say Brandy is kind of included. Although she is good and alive, she's succeeding in life right now. But they include her because some who believe in the curse include Brandy in it because she was involved in a grave car accident. In December of 2006, she was in an accident that killed a 38-year-old mother of 2. I guess you would think maybe Brandy is safe, but everyone that's around her is not, in a way. It seems like to me. But it's sad. Because especially Merlin Santana, he does such an amazing job with all he does with the Cosby Show, the Steve Harvey Show, and here in Moesha. He's just an amazing guy. He's funny. He could have been doing such big things. Nowadays, he would have been in so many things. Like, it's sad. Watch this show on Netflix. It's currently streaming on Netflix. You can do what I did. Just binge watched it within 3 weeks. And you'll understand. And then you'll be like, oh, wow, the cliffhanger. What are they going to do now? And, like, they've been saying that Brandy wants a reboot of it just to solve the issue of what happened in the last episode. And she's mentioned this on The Reel. But they just haven't made it into fruition, which is sad. Because we kind of want to know what happened. But also, like, now it's been, like, now it's 20 years. What would the character be? Like, it would be, like, 20 years later. Like, would the same characters be in the same situation? The thing is now that, like, Lamont Bentley is no longer alive, and he was part of the season finale, you kind of can't really reboot the show, because are you going to say that he passed away too? Like, it's sad. Like, I kind of wish they had another season. If they had one more season, I think that would have been good enough. But that's just how we're going to end it off, like that. And the next episode is episode 71, The Cosby Show Season 3, episode 23, Bald and the Beautiful. And we're going to end this episode with the theme song to Mo to the E to the. See you all on the next one.
Come on.